Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am getting ready to be taken out for dinner for my birthday. I am 30, which is, it's kind of mad because I'm just thinking about how much time I've spent online. I think I started this channel when I was 20, so 10 years. Oh my god, has it been 10 years? So as I'm turning 30, and I'm currently on mat leave, so I've had a lot of time trapped under a little perfect babe, and I was thinking about being 30, the things that I've learned, I would say more so in the last 10 years than any other time, but it's given me a lot of time to reflect. So I thought what we could do is get ready for dinner tonight. I mean, it is 9 o'clock in the morning, so this makeup's got to last. But I wanted to talk about 30 things that I have learned in 30 years. And I'm just going to get ready while we talk about this. When I was kind of compiling this list, I just chucked it down in my notes. It's almost like stuff that I would love to hear, if that makes sense. Like, I can imagine if I had a big sister, that she would say these things. These are all things that my mum would definitely tell me. And it's quite reassuring, it's quite comforting, and it's maybe a little bit of a reminder. So I'm going to keep this list in my phone just to kind of look at if I ever need to. I thought that I could share, I mean, it's definitely a little bit different from me. I don't peg myself to be some kind of self-help guru, but if this helps, or if anyone likes it, then great. The first thing I've got here is no one cares. I wish that I'd known this in my kind of early teen years more than anything else, but I can guarantee that everyone is more concerned about themselves than they are about you. And if they're not, then there's a problem, and it's not your problem. Remind yourself that no one cares when you're, picking whatever clothes you want to wear, deciding to do something that maybe you're a wee bit embarrassed about. A good example for me, and I'll use a lot of personal examples in this video just because that's what I obviously relate to. But when I started a YouTube channel, I really had to tell myself that no one cared. Again, if they did care or made me feel stupid, then that's got really nothing to do with me. I think that it's much easier to live your kind of authentic self if you remember that no one really cares. Number 2 is do not save things for good. I was definitely a victim of this. I used to get, for Christmas, all I wanted was nice toiletries, right? From a really young age. I had a shelf full of, I think it was called Natural Collections from Boots. They had this body butter that was all swirled, so it would look like icing in jam, and that sat on my shelf for 4 years, and by the time that I actually opened it to use it, it was off. Same thing goes for clothes. I have a wardrobe full of clothes that I love, and I will save them for good. I will not wear them. I'll wear the same old shit every single day and leave the stuff that I really love and just won't wear it. That's something that I'm really trying to change, and just enjoy the stuff that I have. I got it for a reason. It makes me feel happy, so why wouldn't I wear it? Why wouldn't I use it? Number 3 is you can do anything, but you can't do everything. Always have it in my head that I can just do it myself, so I'll just do it myself. I think that asking for help and delegating as well, if it's work, is really important, because what will end up happening is you'll end up burnt out, maybe even resentful, because you feel like you're putting it all on your plate. You're the one that needs to do everything. It's just not the case. It also doesn't take away from your hard work. Also, asking for help and working towards things as a team, or whether that be your family or your work, it doesn't take away from the success or the kind of gratification of getting something done. Something that I had to learn, definitely working by myself for so long and then working with a team. When you learn as well that you can't do everything, it means that you can focus on the things that you really love instead. For far too long, I would suffer my way through doing tasks that I hated. I'd learn new skills that I didn't want to learn, which means that you're just never going to put your heart and soul into something, right? And when you don't love something, there's no way that you're giving it your all. So maybe there is someone else that's best suited. I think this is, for me personally, this one's really work centric, but it can be your family as well, or your partner. So when you're piling things onto your plate, just remember that. Number 4, if you are going to have a day off, decide at the start of the day that that's what you're going to do. There's far too many times that I have had all these great plans, but maybe felt quite overwhelmed. I've not managed to get anything done. And then by the end of the day, I've accomplished nothing. I feel guilty about it. And really what I should have done at the start of the day is recognise that I'm no good to anyone. I'm going to have a day off. So if you are, working for yourself, or you've got a day off but you really wanted to get a bunch of stuff done, but really what you need is just a rest, decide at the start of the day, because what that means is that you can actually enjoy it without sitting in kind of panic mode all day, getting to the end of the day, nothing's been done. You could have just had that day all to yourself, guilt-free, you know, decide at the start of the day that you're going to have that break and really enjoy it and use it to rest properly. Number 5 is look after your body, and that doesn't mean go on a diet or have a really mental workout plan that's not sustainable at all for you. Personally, I think that I feel my best when I'm looking after my body, and that to me looks like eating well. I feel terrible if I have like a spell of eating not very nutritious food, takeaways a lot. There's other things that makes you think of, I think, as well. I always think about all the money that I'm spending on takeaways when I do that. For me, it's getting a good night's sleep. It's not binge drinking. I think that's something for me. I used to do a lot more of that, and I really don't, especially now. I had 9 months off. It's looking at what you put in your body, but it doesn't need to be in a drastic way, but it's just being kind of mindful, I suppose. And I just know that in the past, I feel my best in my body, but also mentally when I'm looking after my body. And then number 6 is look after your mind. I always use the phrase you are what you eat, but not in the context that you think. It's not about food at all, it's about what you consume. So for example, with social media, you're in complete control of who you follow and how much time you spend on social media as well. I think that social media, it has its good things and it's got its bad things and it's got its terrible things. But if you're really mindful about how you use it, make sure that when you're on there, you're only consuming content that's either going to make you feel better, make you laugh, teach you something, or make you feel inspired, or like even for company as well. If there's someone that you really like to follow that makes you feel like you're getting that little bit of company, that for me is perfect. There's a lot of toxic shit online, and I think even when it comes to programs and films that you watch, when I was pregnant, I was really mindful not to be watching anything too dark because I just didn't want that kind of energy around me. It sounds very hippy dippy, but it's true. If I watch the news, that really brings me down, and that definitely isn't, it's not a great thing, you know, it's kind of burying my head in the sand, I suppose, but it just makes me feel terrible. It makes me feel terrible, so it's something I avoid. When it comes to the books you read, sound very holier than thou talking about this when I do mostly read fantasy smut. I'm going to put that out there. That's the truth. That's the truth of it. I'm sure that I've seen people talk about this when all they consume is like true crime, and it gets to the point where they're like, I actually need a break from this because this is weighing on me really, really heavy. For me personally, it's just keeping an eye on how much I'm consuming. So if I find myself, I've been sitting on my phone for hours and hours and hours, I need to kind of check myself and be like, right, I need to get myself out of this and go do something else. Just do anything else. And I suppose in a pretty severe way, I've seen people fall victim to watching people they don't necessarily like. I think the term hate watching has been thrown around, and it's definitely more on social media than anything else. Maybe when it comes to like tabloids and things like that as well. If there is someone online that's creating content, or there's like a person that you really don't like, or a celebrity, just do not watch. There's no way that consuming someone's content that you're not a fan of is going to make you feel better, and it's not going to make you act the way that you like, you know, especially if you're watching just with hate in your heart. There's just no point. This one's a wee bit, some of these are quite deep, and then some of them are not at all. There are frequencies and vibrations in the world, right? Basically you can give off a vibe. There are certain frequencies that are really high vibration, you know, and it's all the good stuff. It's joy, it's bliss, it's peace, it's gratitude, it's all of these things. And see, at the very, very bottom rung, you've got shame and you've got guilt. And these are things that I think everyone lives with at some point or another. Sometimes it's super prevalent, but they are the lowest vibrations. And see, when you harbour those kind of feelings, what you're doing is you're just attracting more of the same. So I know it's hard, but I think that acceptance is really important in those situations, and forgiveness for yourself, for other people. And it's basically just whatever you need to do to make peace and move on so you can move on to the next thing is really important. I'm sure that some of you have noticed that when you're having a bad day, or a really, really bad day, a bad time, more and more kind of bad stuff starts to happen. I know this happens with me, and I kind of start to spiral a little bit, right? So I'll just notice that I'm having pretty negative thought patterns. Things aren't going great. Things aren't going great the next day. Things are starting to get worse. And for me, I really have to work hard to shake it off and kind of almost draw a line over it and say, right, that was bad. That was like a couple of hard days, but that was just prepping me for the next thing. You know, there's good stuff coming. And honestly, like, every single time that I manage to make that kind of thought process and that pattern, cut it off, things start getting better pretty much straight away. So it's really all power of the mind. Number 8, if you feel stuck, if you're in a bit of a funk, rearrange your room or do some cleaning. Game changer. I think this has maybe got more to do with your personality type. For me, if I put down all my stuff, put down my work, put down my phone, put some music on and start rearranging a room, give it a good clean, fix the feng shui, it's unbelievable the difference it makes. As soon as I've done that and I'm sitting in my newly arranged room and it's all clean, the sense of peace that I feel is pretty unparalleled. Something that I wish that I'd noticed earlier, but I used to do this when I was really young. On a weekend, I would just spend the whole time in my bedroom and I would be moving stuff around and I would clean it all, and then I would go and get my mum and be like, do you want to see my room? I would feel so happy and so excited about my new space that I just created for myself with nothing. Like, there was no new stuff. I didn't go buy anything. I literally just took what I had, changed it up, and it just made me feel so good. I recently did this in our living room downstairs and I was sitting so blissed out. I felt so happy. The cleaning thing is really important. I am really affected by my space. So if I'm sitting in a proper mess, this happens all the time with my makeup room, I would start feeling kind of overwhelmed. It would just be like a kind of niggle in the back of my mind. It's really nice to like kind of dedicate a little bit of time to your space because again, it's like where you need to live. Very important. Number 9 is all hobbies are not for you. That sounds really negative, right? Do you know how many times that I've tried to get into a hobby, I've bought all the gear and had no idea. I remember spending about £70 on bullet journaling like supplies. I got so overwhelmed by it. I got so nervous to write in my book in case I made a mess of it that it all just sat there. And it's okay that that's not for me. Do you know what works for me? Writing notes in my phone. I've got one planner that I'm starting to make into something that will work for me, but it's taken me, you know, I've already bought inserts that I've looked at and been like, this is not for me, this is too complicated, it's not going to work for the way that my brain works. That's just one example. Another, when I was young, I saw people, oh, you're all going to make fun of me. I saw people street dancing and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I can't dance. I have absolutely zero rhythm. So tell me why I would run home from school to go to the train station to get a 40-minute train to Annie's Land, the place in Glasgow, and do a street dancing class. I was terrible. I'm actually, the second-hand embarrassment I've got for myself right now is huge. Am I happy I pursued it? No, I'm not, because it was embarrassing. And then do you know what's even worse? I would come home from the class and stand in the garden and practice because I really wanted to be great at it. If I just looked at it objectively, I could have seen, do you know what, that's really cool and I can enjoy watching it, but it's not for me to do. I was definitely in my feels when I wrote these, by the way. Number 10 is people are like rose bushes, but make sure they treat you like a rose bush too. Right, the reason that I wrote this down is I have a rose bush out the front and it's really hard to make grow nicely, but if I was to take the time and the effort and the care to look after it, I would have a beautiful rose bush out the front. This is a more recent thing I realised, but the more you kind of pour into other people, and this isn't about filling up their cup or emptying your cup, but the more that you pour into people, kind of more that you get back in return. There's been occasions in my life where I feel like I've not been getting what I want from people, and instead of me just addressing it or asking for more, I don't know, working as a team on these things, I would just retreat and stop pouring anything into that person in the hopes that it would make them kind of come back to me with more. It's not a thing. Realising this has made me more compassionate, and it's made me, you know, want to put more into my friendships and my relationships. Be, I suppose, a better communicator, but I don't know why I phrased it like that. I think it's because it's nice, because actually it's a tricky topic, isn't it? My personality type, I definitely am more likely to retreat when I'm not getting what I want. I'll just kind of take a step back and be like, right, fine. But actually that's not what I want to do. I want to like nurture people and pour myself into them in the hopes that they pour themselves back into me. Saying that, you do not want to be doing that for someone that's not going to do it in return for you. So that's where it's tricky. Number 11, wear what you feel great in, which is not going to be always what other people feel great in. I think this is something that quite a lot of people can maybe relate to. It was more so when I was younger, and even not that young, but I would be looking online or looking around me and seeing everyone wearing a certain type of clothes. You know, I went and bought whatever it was. I'll always use the example of a bandage dress, right? I hate what bandage dresses look like on me. They look terrible on me. But because everyone is wearing them, I just wore them too. This is something I think that comes with age. It's all about, I suppose, being authentically yourself. I don't love wearing high heels because they hurt my feet, but also I'm really tall anyway, so I don't need the height, and I don't really want the height, if I'm honest. Don't get me wrong, I embrace my height, blah blah, but another thing is, you know, I don't love wearing really like flowery feminine dresses. What I do like wearing is like more like suits and I suppose slightly more masculine clothes. Prefer to dress down than to dress up, and it took me ages to realise that if I just dress the way that I want to dress, I'm going to have a wardrobe full of clothes that I'll actually wear, I'll waste less money, and I'll actually feel more like myself when I'm wearing these clothes and I'm out and about. Number 12 is you miss out on 100% of the opportunities that you don't pursue. Hand in hand with this is that I genuinely think that any opportunity that presents itself to you is because you're ready for it, or you've worked for it, or it's just the right thing for you. Opportunities don't just present themselves to people that aren't ready for them or worthy of them. Coming from someone that can get slightly apprehensive, a little bit scared of certain opportunities or things, it's almost thinking, what's the worst that can happen? An example for me is I remember getting a phone call, this was years ago, and it was to say that Drew Barrymore was going to be in London and she wanted to film with me. My first reaction was, absolutely not, no way, I'm too nervous, I'm too scared, I love her. I knew that I would be nervous, I knew that I would feel sick the whole way leading up to it. And I think it was really short notice, it was like a couple of days, but I honestly just forced myself to do it because I know that weeks, months, years down the line I would be devastated that I gave up that opportunity. So I did it. Did I feel sick and nervous? Yes. If you go and watch the video, I am literally covered in red hives on my chest because I am so nervous, but she was the best and it was great. I'm delighted that I did it. So it's kind of forcing myself out of my comfort zone a little bit. So that's an example for me, something that could happen. A job, an interview that you're scared for, a job that you're nervous about, making that leap. I felt that way when I went from working on a makeup counter to working freelance. I felt terrified. Imagine I hadn't done that. There's so many things in my life that would not look anything like they do if I hadn't given myself that little. Number 13, never stop having fun the way that children do. And I think this is something that I've thought about since having Romy. I definitely am having my most fun when I'm acting like a big kid. And I think that having kids is a little bit of a resurgence of the kid in ourselves, but that does not mean that the two are mutually exclusive. You do not need to have kids to have fun like a kid. So yeah, whatever that looks like for you, make sure you do it. Go bowling. Number 14 is material things are nice, but it is the experiences that are the most valuable. Again, I think this is something that comes with age a little bit. There's a real point in time for me that I was buying stuff like bags and shoes and things like that. The kind of older I've got, the more I've realised that it is the things that I've done and the experiences and the places that I've been that are definitely the most valuable to me. That's not to say that material things aren't nice, like I said. If you've got, your eye on something, I'm all for you going for it, but I'm kind of at the stage now where if I don't have something to look forward to, and that doesn't need to be a big luxurious holiday, it could be going on a road trip or taking a train somewhere that you've not been before and just kind of getting out and exploring a little bit. That for me, that's where all the best memories are. I can't remember when I can't remember when I got all my bags because it's very special. Number 15 is it's the company you keep. I think that some of the most successful people or the richest people when it comes to money and things like that are the loneliest. I really do believe that if they've not nurtured their families and relationships and friendships, and family meaning whether it's the family that you have or the family you choose, if you don't have people to share what you have with, I really don't know if it's worth it. I can't imagine that it is. The company you keep is really important to the way that you feel. Do those people make you feel good? Do they not? Is it a block and delete situation? That's fine. Again, something that comes at age, I do not care anymore. And don't get me wrong, there are some people that are way more solitary and don't need the kind of companionship and things like that because they're pretty happy to go it alone. That's also fine as long as that truly is what you want and what you need. I know for me, I I really need like people in my family. I'm hugely family orientated, and the people that are close to me are extremely important to me. I'm going to do my eyeliner first, and then we're going to talk about the other ones, because I can't talk and do this at the same time. If anyone can tell me when the sweating postpartum stops, I'd be really grateful, because this is insane. Number 16 is, if you really, really want it and you work really, really hard, you will get it. I really believe that. I think that circumstances obviously come into play, but if it's something that you love and you're really willing to work really, really hard at it, there is no reason that you can't have it. I think when I was growing up, I was constantly told by my parents that I could do anything that I wanted, and that didn't mean, you know, be president. It meant I could do anything that I wanted. There was nothing that wasn't good enough. It really was about me and who I am and what I want. So, you know, never did I feel like I was letting anyone down by not going to university, or, you know, by being like a makeup artist. There's, I'm sure, a handful of people that would be disappointed that their daughter had, you know, chosen to be a makeup artist. I really, really wanted to have my own brand for like almost 10 years before I actually did it. And it definitely wasn't handed to me. I had to work really hard for that to happen. There are things that helped me along the way, namely you all. But, you know, it was not in my path at all. I had to kind of make it for myself. I had to make that path for myself. So if you really, really want it and you're willing to work really, really hard, there is no reason that you can't get what it is that you want. Number 17 is, you are a magnet. So this kind of goes back to what I was saying about the frequencies and things. What emotions and feelings you're harbouring, and if they are, you know, not great, you're not going through a good time, making sure that you're doing that reset when it comes to, you know, forgiving yourself, forgiving other people, practicing gratitude. Gratitude's one of those high vibrational frequencies. So even if you're feeling hard done by or things aren't going great, what do you have to be grateful for? Because there's always things to be grateful for, even when things are looking pretty, pretty grim. Yeah, you are a magnet. Something that I try to be constantly is excited about things. I used to get slagged off for saying I'm so excited all the time, but not a bad thing to attract more exciting things into my life, you know. And that also goes back to, oh god, it's connected to everything, isn't it? But if you're consuming content that you don't like and it's making you feel negative and it's making you feel hateful, then you are just like a big hateful magnet. There's a real movement right now, people talking about mindful thinking and intention and things like that. It might not be for you, but there's a reason that everyone's talking about it, and it's because it does make a huge difference. Being intentional with your thoughts and putting out what it is you want to attract back into your life. Like I said, that's why I'm getting deep in this one. Number 18 is quality over quantity, always. For me, it's a lot about work. You know, I would rather have one great formula product than a collection of 10 different formulas that are okay, of course. Being intentional with how you're spending your time and your money. Number 19 is, make sure that you like who you are. It's a pretty heavy one, but like I said about, you know, your mind being the house that you have to live in all the time, making sure that it's a nice place, as nice as you can make it. I think that a lot of liking who you are is just how you treat people and how you speak with people. Yeah, I think it's got everything to do with you and your actions, and, you know, going to bed that night knowing that you've been, I suppose, the best version of yourself. You know that phrase, how can you sleep at night? That's something that's only said to someone that's acted really like abhorrently, like not a nice person. How can you sleep at night? So it's making sure that you sleep soundly every night, and it really is all about how you treat people in the hopes that that's the way that you're treated, right? Make sure you like yourself. Number 20, I'm running out of makeup to do here, but number 20 is, it's okay to say no. This one for me is all about trusting your gut feeling. There's a couple of times that I've said yes to things and wished that I hadn't. This is definitely one for the people pleasers out there, because what you'll end up doing is saying yes to things that you don't want to and feeling resentful maybe that you've done so, that you've given up your time or your energy for something that you don't agree with or don't feel good about. Tricky for a lot of people. It's really hard to say no, but it's okay to say no. And just practice. Practice with a small thing. You get invited out, you don't want to go, just be like, nah, I'm alright. I need lashes. Alright, lashes are on, but I'm going to put mascara on them as well. The next one's probably the deepest that I've got. Number 21 is gold hoops go with everything. Is a rule, okay? Since I had Romy, I've wore hoops every day, and I swear it makes me feel so put together. Very important. Number 22 is there's no rush. Everyone's timeline looks different. A perfect time for someone else to do something might not be the perfect time for you, and that's all right. I think that there's a lot of pressure. Maybe it's because we all have so much visibility on the things that other people are doing that you feel like you're in a race, or you feel like that person's getting married, or that person's having kids, or that person started a business but you've not done it. That's okay. You always see posts going viral that kind of lay out amazing people that have done incredible things in their life and they didn't do it until they were 50 or 60, or and so just because someone decided to have kids at the age of 20 and maybe you think that's young, it's not your timeline, it's not your thing, and that's okay. Number 23 is it wasn't a waste of time. If you look at everything that you do in life as a lesson, something's happened, it's taught you a lesson, or it's taught you something about yourself, made you realise what you really care about, maybe it wasn't a waste of time. I think an example of this is in relationships. I think a lot of people spend so many years with someone that they think that they've invested all this time into that relationship or that person that they can't leave. You've spent 10 years with someone, you can't just throw all that away, but if it's not working, then that's okay. It's not a waste of time. You had that time with that person, now you're moving on. Same thing goes for a job. You've spent however long in a job, then you've realised it's not for you. It wasn't a waste of time. Just think about all the things that you've learned about yourself, and I think just knowing that it's okay to completely change direction at any point is all good. Number 24 is do things that make you feel good all the time. I think that sometimes there's a bit of guilt associated with doing the things that we selfishly love, but if that's what fills you up, fills your cup, then why wouldn't you do it as much as you can? Say for example you love going for a massage and you are able to book a massage once a week, for example, right? I don't know who is, but you're able to book a massage once a week. Why wouldn't you? If it makes you feel great, if you've got the time, if you've got the money, just don't feel guilty about doing the things that you love, because it will make you feel great, and which will in turn make you a better person, which will in turn make you a better person for the people that are closest to you. For me, having a bath every night really restores me, makes me feel so much better. I don't feel guilty about that at all. I do not feel guilty about shutting the door and having like half an hour to an hour by myself, even though I've got like a wee baby. For me to have that time to fill my cup up means that I'm going to be a better mum. So why wouldn't you do the things that you love that make you feel great as much as you possibly can. Number 25 is everything's temporary. Again, it sounds kind of bleak, but for me, it's how I get through difficult times. So say I've got a crazy to-do list that I'm staring at on a Monday. I just know by the following Monday, I'll have managed it. I'll have done it. That list, once I power through it, is temporary. It goes for like pain and things like that as well. I think remembering that everything's temporary is a really good way to stay present and to appreciate the things that we have while we have them. Everything's temporary when it comes to the hard stuff, but the good stuff too. You don't know when that could one day stop. Number 26. People often have something negative to say about you or what you're doing because it didn't work out for them. I think this is something that I've realised more recently during being pregnant and having a wee baby. There are a handful of people that love to tell me things that I wouldn't be able to do anymore, things that were going to be very, very hard. All of those things that are kind of slightly negative could fill someone with absolute dread for what's going to happen. But what I kind of realised was that was mostly to do with that person and what happened to them or what they went through. I think that this could look like loads of different things. I think it could look like someone commenting on your relationship or your job. Again, it kind of goes back to what people have to say. It often has nothing to do with you and it has everything to do with that person. When people start getting maybe slightly negative towards you, maybe it's things that people say that you find hurtful, most of the time it's got absolutely nothing to do with you. One of the things I was told when I was pregnant was that having a newborn, I would have no time to do my makeup anymore. And that for me is not the case. So it was something that I was nervous about, getting told that when it's my job. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Now looking back at it objectively, maybe that person just didn't have the time to do their makeup and it's something that they really wanted to do. It's quite useful, I think, to remember that it's not as about you as maybe it first appears. Similarly, number 27, only take criticism from people that really know you, especially if someone's making a judgment on your character and they don't really know who you are. I think that that's really important. That can happen anywhere, and I bet you'll find that the people that really love you and care about you only criticise or, pull you up when you really need it. There was a really good example of this, and it was, I cannot remember where I saw this, but say I've got brown hair, right? If someone was to come up to me and say, your pink hair is so ugly. I wouldn't bat an eye because I'm like, I don't have pink hair, a weirdo. If someone was to come up to you and say, you're a really nasty person, you might know that you're not a nasty person, but because it's a judgment based on your character, it fucks with you in a different way. You know that you're not a nasty person, but someone said that, so it kind of like hang in the back of your mind. Or stupid, that's a better example. Someone says you're really stupid. You know you're not stupid, but because it's more of a personal attack, you could dwell on it for longer than if it was something that was outwardly not true. Number 28 is let people show you who they really are. This is something that I wish I could go back and tell my teenage self. Probably the best and saddest example of this is you are young and in a relationship and you're terrified that the other person is going to cheat. So you are pretty crazy about it. You basically do everything in your power to make sure that they don't do that. Whereas if that's something that the other person is going to do, wouldn't you rather know that that's what that person's capable of? Or say you are in a friendship group and they decide not to invite you out. Once upon a time you would do everything in your power to make sure that you were included because, it hurts when you're not. But if you just let those people do whatever their plan was without you, you can see that they weren't going to invite you, so you can see that they're actually not valuable to you. There's someone that you care about in your life and it's your birthday. You're frequently reminding them that it's your birthday so they don't forget, because that would hurt your feelings. But if they're the type of person that's just going to forget your birthday, do you really want to be putting time and investing time into that person? Maybe not. That one's I think feels quite brutal and it doesn't feel good. But letting people show you who they are without your help and without your moulding them into the person that you wish that they were, you might save yourself some time. We're nearly there. Number 29 is don't rely on anyone else for your happiness, but cherish the people that actually do bring you happiness. This is something that I think I was quite guilty of. I very rarely enjoyed spending time by myself. When I did have time by myself, I didn't really know how to spend that time to make myself feel good, or I didn't really know what I could do by myself to have a good time. I always had to be with someone. It wasn't really until I recognised that and made an effort with myself. So for example, lighting candles, watching a film that I love, having a glass of wine, having a bath, just really spending time with myself. That is something that I had to teach myself to do. But if there are people in your life, I've definitely got them in my life, that just being with them brings you happiness. Just really hold on to them tight. And then number 30 is extremely cliche, but it's just that life is short. I'm sure that the majority of us all have experiences in life that have made us feel like life is short. I think that that's such a kind of valuable thing just to remember when things are hard, or you're contemplating doing something or making this life change, or how it is that you're spending your time. Maybe when it comes to how you split your time between work and family, looking at your situation. If you're not happy in that situation, maybe you're nervous to make a change, I don't know, but remembering that life is short can be a pretty good accelerator when it comes to making changes and making sure that you're living the life that you really want. That's 30 things that I've learned in 30 years. I've never really filmed a video like this, but I suppose it's quite deep, but I think that at the moment I've just went through like a huge period of time of like reflection, looking at my life, what's important to me, things that maybe I wish I'd been told when I was a bit younger, things that I really want to remember as I get older, things that I want to make sure that my daughter knows as she grows up. I really wanted to, I don't know, kind of mark the occasion. I'm really excited about being 30. I'm not nervous about it at all. I remember being like younger in my early 20s and dreading turning 30, but honestly I think I feel more settled in myself than I've kind of ever been before. And now I'm all glam for my entire day before I go out. I hope you like this video. A little bit different from me. Like I said, I'm still on mat leave, so I'm easing myself back, but I really wanted to do a nice makeup look for going out for my birthday dinner and just share some of my thoughts that I've been having in case it's at all valuable, and hopefully it was. So I hope you liked the video. I didn't talk about any of the makeup products I used, but I'll link everything down below, and if you made it this far, well bloody done. I will see you in the next one. Bye. I've got something in my freaking eye. I look like I've got a bit of a quiff going on, which I cannot think. This stupid baby brain. No skin. I've got dog hairs all over my face. I can feel them everywhere. Oh my god, I am sweating. And I'd like you to know that I've got my legs crossed, right? And I just felt a bead of sweat run down my legs, so just know that. It's a bit scary. I'm really sweaty. Hope you have.
Hope you have a good day.